you're awake. No, don't get up. Shh. Relax, you're safe. But you're in pretty bad shape. We're in an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere. I carried you here after you almost died back there. Well, you've been up for about 2 days. Your injuries are substantial, to say the least. It's important that you rest. Anyway, what happened was you got caught in the blast of that car you were hiding behind. You must have really pissed off those things because they were relentless. I observed all this from a safe distance because I couldn't really do anything, to be honest. I waited until they thought you were dead. And then I picked you up and I ran for the hills. You should have seen how I zoomed out of there. 'Cause I'm no daredevil. That was pretty scary. What's wrong? You look confused. You don't remember being chased? What's the last thing you remember then? What's your name, by the way? My name's Sine. Nice to meet you. Oh, no, I'm glad you trust me enough to assume that, but no, we haven't had the pleasure yet. You must have hit your head pretty hard, huh? Well, at least you remember your name. Who? Try what? You do remember those things, right? What things? Oh. You're obviously suffering from significant memory loss. Well, let me bring you up to speed then. It's pretty important that you know what's going on. Let me warn you though. If you've forgotten everything that happened in the past month, you will find this hard to believe. The world has changed a lot in a very short time. Everything you knew is not the same. Something came down from the stars. That was the catalyst. Nobody believed it at first. Just another conspiracy theory. Those photos and videos, they're fake, doctored, photoshopped. That's what people were saying. And I was one of them. But then, more and more of those things came crashing down. Soon they were everywhere. Whatever was inside those vessels is very hard to describe. You can't really look at them for too long. Makes your head all fuzzy. Suddenly, everyone went into full-on panic when they realized what was going on. Nobody knows what they want. Nobody knows what they are. All we know is they're pretty dangerous. The only people left are those who fled and went into hiding. I'm one of those people. And you must be too. Except you must have done something to get their attention. I've never seen them chase anyone like that. You were quite lucky to escape with your life. Maybe they didn't care after all. It's weird. Others weren't so lucky. I don't know what the rest of humanity is doing at this point. We're completely disconnected. You must have the same reason as me to come to such an isolated part of the world. You're alone, right? Yeah. I guess you wouldn't remember. I've lost everyone. They've either disappeared or died. But you gotta keep moving, right? What are you gonna do? Give up? No way. How do you feel? It's a lot to take in. At least outside is calm. I think we're pretty safe in here. You know how you can tell? It's the animals. They're pretty smart. They have like a sixth sense when it comes to danger. Especially rabbits and deers. So if they're still around, you can rest easy. We seem to have largely lost those instincts, I suppose. I mean, look at you. I'm sorry. You're in pretty bad shape, and I'm making jokes about it. But I mean, gotta keep a sense of humor, right? In these kind of times. Let me get you painkillers. You should take another dose before the pain comes back. That will be really uncomfortable. Be right back. These in a hospital. It was completely deserted. Have you ever seen a completely empty hospital before? That was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Here you go. I understand. No appetite. Well, now that you're awake, let me tell you how bad your injuries are. Let's go through them, shall we? So, first off, you've got your head. I'm going to be honest. It's pretty bad, but you've made it this far, so I think you're going to be fine. It's pretty severe trauma. It's probably what caused your memory loss. Then we've got several lacerations all over, basically. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's from the broken glass that came from the broken windows of the car when it exploded. Yeah, the car actually exploded. I've never seen that before. It was insane. And you actually went flying through the air. Man. How you're still alive is beyond me. Anyway, I took them all out and I sewed your wounds. So, don't worry about it. Yeah. Should be fine now. It probably hurts a little still, doesn't it? What are you gonna do? It's going to heal eventually. Yeah. So, next up, it's the broken ribs. You've got broken ribs. You know how you can tell? There's a certain tenderness around your rib when it's broken. You have to feel it up to notice. Also, there's the heavy bruising and, well, the pain. So don't worry, I won't touch it anymore. But yeah, just be glad I checked on them while you were sleeping, because you would have been screaming in pain, I suppose. And lastly, you've got your burns. 2nd-degree burns, I'd say, at least, on your back, because you were leaning against the car. Yeah. I hope it's not uncomfortable lying on your back. It's not like you have a choice, but yeah, okay. I know I said this already, but it's quite the miracle that you're still alive. And even more so without professional medical care. I mean, I'm no doctor. I did the best I could, but I'm still no doctor. So, yeah, you're pretty lucky. No, don't say anything. It's fine. You don't have to thank me. What would I do? Just leave you to die? It's hard enough to find anyone alive nowadays, so I knew I could do something, so I had to do something. So, if you want to, I can read you a little something, to help you fall asleep. You're going to need the rest. Yeah, does that sound good? Fantastic. And let's do that. little book right here. It's Edgar Allan Poe. I know it's a little, I don't know, tasteless to be reading horror right now, but I find that fiction always distracts your mind from the real horrors, so to speak. Never bet the devil your head. A tale with a moral. Con tal que las costumbres de un autor, says Don Tomás de las Torres in the preface to his amatory poems, sean puras y castas, importa muy poco que no sean igualmente severas sus obras. Meaning, in plain English, that provided the morals of an author are pure personally, it signifies nothing what are the morals of his books. We presume that Don Tomás is now in purgatory for that assertion. It would be a clever thing too, in the way of poetical justice, to keep him there until his amatory poems get out of print, or are laid definitely upon the shelf through lack of readers. Every fiction should have a moral, and what is more to the purpose, the critics have discovered that every fiction has. Philip Melanchthon, some time ago, wrote a commentary upon the Patrachomyomachia, and proved that the poet's object was to excite a distaste for sedition. Pierre Sine, going a step further, shows that the intention was to recommend to young men temperance in eating and drinking. Just so, too, Jacobus Hugo has satisfied himself that by Eunice, Homer meant to insinuate John Calvin, by Antinous, Martin Luther, by the Lotophagi, Protestants in general, and by the Harpies, the Dutch. Our more modern scholiasts are equally acute. These fellows demonstrate a hidden meaning in the antediluvians, a parable in Powhatan, new views in Cock Robin, and transcendentalism in Hop O' My Thumb. In short, it has been shown that no man can sit down to write without a very profound design. By the way, this isn't horror. This is a comedy, a parody, satire. So, we're good, I guess. In short, it has been shown that no man can sit down to write without a very profound design. Thus, to authors in general, much trouble is spared. A novelist, for example, need have no care of his moral. It is there. That is to say, it is somewhere. And the moral and the critics can take care of themselves. When the proper time arrives, all that the gentleman intended and all that he did not intend will be brought to light, in the Dial or in the Downeaster, together with all that he ought to have intended and the rest that he clearly meant to intend, so that it will all come very straight in the end. There is just no ground, therefore, for the charge brought against me by certain ignoramuses, that I have never written a moral tale, or, in more precise words, a tale with a moral. They are not the critics predestined to bring me out and develop my morals. That is the secret. By and by, the North American quarterly humdrum will make them ashamed of their stupidity. In the meantime, by way of staying execution, by way of mitigating the accusations against me, I offer the sad history appended. A history about whose obvious moral there can be no question whatever. Since he who runs may read it in the large capitals, which form the title of the tale, I should have credit for this arrangement, a far wiser one than that of La Fontaine and others, who reserve the impression to be conveyed until the last moment, and thus sneak it in at the fag end of their fables. Even if the dead in question be nothing but dead small beer, it is not my design, and therefore to vituperate my deceased friend Toby Dammit. He was a sad dog, it is true, and a dog's death it was that he died, but he himself was not to blame for his vices. They grew out of personal defect on his mother. She did her best in the way of flogging him while an infant. For duties to her well-regulated mind were always pleasures, and babies, like tough steaks or the modern Greek olive trees, are invariably the better for beating. But poor woman, she had the misfortune to be left-handed, and a child flogged left-handedly had better be left unflogged. The world revolves from right to left. It will not do to whip a baby from left to right. If each blow in the proper direction drives an evil propensity out, it follows that every thump in an opposite one knocks its quota of wickedness in. I was often present at Toby's chastisements, and even by the way in which he kicked, I could perceive that he was getting worse and worse every day. At last I saw, through the tears in my eyes, that there was no hope of the villain at all. And one day, when he had been cuffed until he grew so black in the face that one might have mistaken him for a little African, and no effect had been produced beyond that of making him wriggle himself into a fit, I could stand it no longer, but went down upon my knees forthwith, and, uplifting my voice, made prophecy of his ruin. The fact is that his precocity in vice was awful. At 5 months of age he used to get into such passions that he was unable to articulate. At 6 months I caught him gnawing a pack of cards. At 7 months he was in a constant habit of catching and kissing the female babies. At 8 months he peremptorily, never heard that word, refused to put his signatures to the temperance pledge. Thus he went on increasing in iniquity, month after month, until at the close of the first year he not only insisted upon wearing mustaches, but had contracted a propensity for cursing and swearing and for backing his assertions by bets. Through this latter, most ungentlemanly practice, the ruin which I had predicted to be Toby Dammit overtook him at last. The fashion had grown with his growth and strengthened with his strength, so that when he came to be a man, he could scarcely utter a sentence without interlating it with a proposition to Campbell. Not that he would actually lay wagers, no, Not that he actually laid wagers, no. I will do my friend the justice to say that he would as soon have laid eggs. With him the thing was a mere formula, nothing more. His expressions on his head had no meaning attached to them whatever. They were simple, if not altogether innocent expletives. Imaginative phrases. Imaginative phrases wherewith to round off a sentence. When he said, "I'll bet you so-and-so," nobody ever thought of taking him up. But still, I could not help thinking it my duty to put him down. The habit was an immoral one, and so I told him. It was a vulgar one. This I begged him to believe. It was discountenanced by society. Here I said nothing but the truth. It was forbidden by act of Congress. Here I had not the slightest intention of telling a lie. I remonstrated, but to no purpose. I demonstrated in vain. I entreated. He smiled. I implored. He laughed. I preached. He sneered. I threatened. He swore. I kicked him. He called for the police. I pulled his nose. He blew it, and offered to bet the devil his head that I would not venture to try that experiment again. Poverty was another vice which the peculiar physical deficiency of Damit's mother had entailed upon her son. He was detestably poor, and this was the reason, no doubt, that his expletive expressions about betting seldom took a pecuniary turn. I will not be bound to say that I ever heard him make use of such a figure of speech as "I'll bet you." "I'll bet you $1." It was usually "I'll bet you what you please," or "I'll bet you what you dare," or "I'll bet you a trifle," or else, more significantly still, "I'll bet the devil my head." You seem very tired. Well, there's a little bit left, but it's probably best if you sleep now. I'll come back in the morning, check up on you. If you need anything, just holler at me. I'll be there as quickly as I can. I'll leave you a little bit of water here, and sleep well.